Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm with Orlando Shakes. We are here with Stephen Brown. He is the playwright behind Dunk City. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing today?
Hello, I am doing so great and so thrilled to be here and be talking to y'all.
Well, we are very excited to have you. I read Dunk City and I was laughing out loud. I have to tell you, immediately I saw certain characters that I see on TV in these roles, and we're going to get into that just a little bit later in the conversation. But is this going to be your first time at Playfest?
This is my very first time at Playfest. Yes, I have known about Playfest for a very long time. As any playwright who has been writing for a number of years knows, like Playfest is like one of those things on the calendar you always apply to. You're always hoping to get in. It never happens. It's never happened for me. So like I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be here with this play, but also just like to come at all is like, oh man, so thrilling.
Well, we are very excited to have you. Now, without giving any spoilers for Dunk City, so be
Mhm.
careful. What is the show about? I'm going to let you give the brief synopsis of it.
Okay, great. So I describe this play as a sex comedy about not having sex. It is about this 18-year-old kid who is suffering from severe erectile dysfunction, and uh, he is so in love with his girlfriend that she is like the love of his life, and she is so like hurt because she feels like she is the cause of his problem. Um, the bigger problem, though, is that for this kid, his big confidant in his life, his best friend, is his very overbearing, very Italian mother. And she is like, don't worry, we're going to solve the problem. I know what to do. And she basically zeroes in on his girlfriend being the cause of the problem. And she tries to like give advice. She tries to change things. She basically just like ruins her son's entire life. And so it's largely a play about like discovering that it's okay to have sex if you're not ready to have sex. It's about our very strange but very loving relationships with our mother, and it's just kind of about like the very innocent side of like relationships when you're young, and being very true to who you are in your relationships.
Yeah, it definitely covers that for a fact. I got to tell you, because you were brought up being the whole Italian mother who could be maybe a little overbearing at times. When I'm reading this, I instantly picture Teresa Caputo, the Long
Yeah,
Island Medium, as the person who's kind of like a little overbearing. And I picture them having big hair. And it was really interesting.
absolutely.
And then I kind of pictured the sister being somebody from like the Real Housewives of New Jersey, one of the kids on that show, just a little bit older. And honestly, Snooki as the girlfriend. And I don't know why, but that popped in from Jersey Shore. So was that the entire like did you do any background where you're like, this is who I'm kind of like putting into these characters, or did you just write it thinking, yeah, this is what I have in mind?
No, no, no. This is a wonderful question, and I have there are two parts to this answer. Okay, so the first part is the mother and the son are entirely based on myself and my mother. And if you want to know who my mother is, just go to my Facebook page and look at all the posts for the past 10 years. It's all my mom just posting pictures and comments about us. It's all her like just blasting through any kind of boundaries any mother should have with their child. That is who my mom is. She is the most loving mama bear in the world, and she will never listen to me when I tell her not to do something. And so, growing up in Texas, I was a very sweet, sensitive kid, and so if I had a problem, and sometimes I had sexual problems, and I was too embarrassed to tell anyone, I would tell my mother, and she was so comforting and like wonderful with like advice. Like nothing was too weird to talk about. And then she would tell everybody we knew in the world.
You're like,
And
thanks,
I
mom. I didn't want that one out there.
exactly, like utterly betrayed. You know what I mean? So that is the first part of where the play comes from. But in writing this play, I knew that it couldn't be set in Texas where I'm from because it's just a little like I come from a very Italian family. So like we have a lot of emotions. We talk very fast. The Texas accent is a little too relaxed. It's a little too easygoing to kind of like convey like the operatic grievance that my mom has kind of all the time. And so I settled on Staten Island and New Jersey as kind of the place where this whole thing is set, just because it's fast talking, it's operatic, it's big. Everyone there is kind of crazy. And so when I was writing this play, I watched about 3 seasons of Jersey Shore in a day to just ingest what that feeling and that sound of that location is. So I would say the play is like a good combo of of my Facebook page and who my mother is, and the Jersey Shore.
So it's almost like a little bit of a to your relationship to your mom, huh? With that
100%. And I will tell you, I sent the play to my mother to read because, of course, I did. And I was like, Mom, this is like a love letter to you. And she read it, and she was like, who the hell is this mother character, and who did you base her off of? And I was like, Mom, literally,
That's
like,
you.
like half the lines are verbatim things that she has said. Like, how do you
gosh.
not know? And she was like, how dare you? She was like, the mother is terrible. Like, she's so mean and rude to people. Like, I can't believe you based it on me. She was really hurt. And I don't think we've recovered from that, but it's okay.
Oh no. Well, hopefully you do recover after this becomes a big hit. And then you can be like, Mom, I mean, it's not so bad, right?
It's not so bad. Yeah, she'll get over it, whatever.
The story is definitely very interesting, I have to tell you. And we've had some comments, people coming from, wait, an 18-year-old dealing with this problem, which I think just kind of adds to the humor of it, especially when, you're like, wait, what? This is not a stereotypical thing. What made you decide on like that age for them and going through this?
So, the thing about, so I grew up in Texas, right? And it's a very conservative culture, a very masculine culture. And I'm in my later 30s. So I grew up in Texas in the 90s. So just put that in your mind for a second. And growing up, like everything that you would watch on TV, all the movies, there were these sex comedies about like young teenage guys, like just obsessed with sex. Like it was all they could think about. They'd go on wild adventures to try to get sex, and they're great movies. Like we all love them. But for me, that was like not my experience. Like people were talking about sex and like there were like teenage girls who like were like into me and trying to take things to a place where I was like honestly really scared of. I was like, I feel scared and this feels weird and I don't feel like I'm ready to do that, but there was like no one you could talk to about that. It was just not a thing you could really talk about. And so there were a lot of like things that I went through where it wasn't until like my 30s when I was talking to other guys that I know now that they were like, oh, I went through the same thing. Like I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt so much shame. And like, it's not something that a lot of guys talk about.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to have just a story where like, this guy, where like everyone in the world in the play is just telling this kid named Davey, like, oh, like you just need to like think of like more sexual things, or like you need to take some like ED pills, or like just like be more manly. Like it like everyone's whole thing is like just have sex.
Right.
When the underlying thing for him is like he's kind of not ready and he doesn't really know that. Because that's not a thing that that's not like a piece of advice anybody would ever give a guy who's 18. So the play is really about that. And when we did the first reading of this play, because I didn't know how people would react. I knew it was like my experience. I knew it was some of my friends' experience. But when we did a reading of the play in grad school, where it's like all young people, I remember all the guys in the room who were all like 18, 19, 20, they lost their minds because they were like, I can't believe there's a play that discusses sort of like the fears and anxieties we have around sexuality that's different than like, I'm just obsessed with sex, And so this is truly just like I said it as a kid who's 18 who has this problem because There's a lot of 18-year-old guys who have different kinds of problems, and they're all terrified to talk about it. And so we don't talk about it. And instead of it being like a shameful thing, like I think it's a hilarious thing. I think it's a loving thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think, there's so many emotions that go into like our own relationships to our sex lives. And for guys, it's been a very monolithic thing. And so I just wanted to introduce a lot more textures to that.
Yeah, there is a lot to this particular play. And I think even though you're talking about the guy aspect, as a woman, I was like, I can totally see how the girlfriend feels this way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Why, how that would affect the dating relationship and all those different kinds of thoughts and insecurities that you go through on both sides. And so it was very interesting to see that. And it was done in a very comical way. So I really enjoyed looking at the play. I do want to know, what are you hoping the audiences take away from this piece?
Well, I mean, the first thing, while it does discuss bigger questions about sex and our relationship to our own sex lives, this is truly like a big sex comedy. Like, it is incredibly fun. It is meant to make you laugh the entire way through. So like this is going to be like a hysterical time and an incredibly fun time at the theater. At the end of the day, like everyone really loves each other. So like there's like a big hearted aspect to the play that is going to make you feel good as an audience member. And then I think like at the end, I hope that it makes people be able to talk about sex and their own sex lives in a more liberated way, I guess you could say. Because for me, the the core couple is based on myself and my wife. And I remember like she is the one who like she's like the greatest person in the entire world. Like I love my wife so much. I could talk about her forever. She is the one who like when we got together, she was like, I remember it was like our third date, and she was like, okay, here's all of my hangups about sex and my body and everything I don't want to tell you about. And she just went through like a list real quick. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to hide anything. I can just tell you all the stuff that I'm terrified about. This is like the greatest day of my entire life. So I told her everything that I was like terrified about, and we got out of the way immediately. And ever since then, like I've never had any like fear or shame or like hiding anything from her. And it's just made it an entirely different relationship than any other relationship I've been in, because like I feel okay talking about things that I'm worried about or that I feel like are wrong or that like I'm ashamed about or whatever it is. And like I feel like if everyone could have that relationship, I think that like everyone would have a better life, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you felt safe with your partner. That's a big deal. And I think,
Yeah.
in this you see the safety too happening at the end. So I think that's wonderful. So when we talked about the play for a little bit, I have a question. What inspired you though to become a playwright, to start your career?
Great question. I did community theater ever since I was 6. My whole family did. We were like a bunch of community theater people, which was great. And I acted from when I was 6 to like 20 years old, just because like that's what I knew. Like I knew, I can act and I can have a community and like that's fun. But I was like not a good actor. And I knew like I'm not gonna go be an actor anywhere, right? But I loved to make people laugh. That was like if you can make people laugh on stage and you can touch 120 people in front of you, it's like magic. It is like you are performing magic, and it's the greatest feeling in the world. And in college, we were doing like all these dramas, and I was like, this is nonsense. Dramas are terrible. Why are we doing all this stuff? And so we had one playwriting class in college, and I was like, I can write better than I can write better than all these people, which was not true at the time. But I wrote a comedy in my playwriting class, and hearing everyone laugh was like, I don't advocate for taking drugs, but if you've ever taken drugs, was the greatest drug I had ever felt in my entire life. Like the euphoria of like being able to create something and having people react to it. It was immediately like in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a playwright for the rest of my life. I was like, I don't care if I'm poor. I don't care what happens. This is the thing. It was like the greatest calling that I've ever felt. And immediately I like jettisoned all the ideas of what I was going to do in my life. And 2 days after I graduated college, I moved to New York, and I was like, whatever I have to do, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm just going to live here, and I'm going to figure it out and write. And it's been a ride ever since.
I love that. If you were to give one piece of advice to somebody who was thinking about becoming a playwright, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. The biggest thing is just remember to have fun. I know that is such like an easy piece of advice, but here's the thing that happens to a lot of playwrights. You start writing and you love it because you're just writing from who you are and what you love, and you don't know any better. And then you learn about craft, and you learn about the market, and you learn about what people are interested in producing, and all this other stuff starts invading like this core beautiful part of who you are as a writer, which is like basically like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these like expectations and what you think you need to be writing and what you should be writing and what people tell you should be writing. And you slowly start to lose that piece of you that loves to write because you have to make rent. You have to pay for food. Like you have to do all these things. And for me, it took like years to relearn the thing that I started out loving. And so that is like that is kind of the most important piece that I have. There's obviously so much more advice I could give right now, but like that is the core thing for any playwright anywhere at any level, is like to remember why you love it and to just chase that.
That is great advice. And you're putting on a great show. We absolutely loved reading Dunk City. I know that people are going to love it when they come see it. It's happening October 25th at 7 p.m. Single tickets are just $16, which is, I mean, come on, it's a steal. You're going to laugh and laugh and laugh. Playfest Pass, where you get to see all 5 shows, is $66, saving you even more money. It's not too late to get those tickets. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. One last thing before we sign off.
Yes.
Tell them in 5 words or less why they should come see this show.
You're going to have the greatest time ever.
All right. Well, you went a little over the 5 words or less, but that's totally fine. We're excited to have you. We're excited to have you come to Orlando to do this reading of Dunk City. We can't wait to hear it ourselves again with the actors. People are going to love it. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Absolutely. Lovely talking to you, Jen.